Hey, happy people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm reconnecting actually. I am reconnecting. So I am just gonna quickly, just give me 1 second. I am now on my phone, my mobile phone. My internet is refusing to work on my desktop. So I'm streaming from my mobile phone. So if there's any glitches, just forgive me, because this is not how I wanted this to today's life to happen, and this is why I always do housekeeping, right? I am just gonna check my feed to make sure that everything is okay, because this is not what I wanted to happen here. But yeah, and I also don't know how to remove my notifications, because I keep seeing my notifications popping up, so forgive me for that. So I hope that is not visible on the other end. So I don't even know how to switch them off, but we'll somehow work through this. We will somehow work through this. So yeah, so I will I'm just gonna put a quick chat on my just gonna move my mic out of the way so I can leave a comment, because that's the only way I can use my computer. It's working at the moment, but I'm using my phone to stream. So give me 1 second while I leave a comment on my chat box. I've managed to somehow the internet all of a sudden is working. So I'm able to monitor that on my laptop. So if anything, that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, I was chatting away and then my internet just cut off. So but I'm recording this session. So if you see me looking away, I'm looking at the chat box to monitor anything coming through the chat box. And I'm also looking up. I have my notes in front of me. And yeah, as always, I always do a little bit of housekeeping. Like if the internet decides to go, but because I'm using my phone, I'm using my data, it should be fine for now. But my internet literally decided not to cooperate today. So I'm not able to stream from my desktop, but I am currently recording it. So if anything, I will re-upload the live, because I think whatever information I share here might benefit someone out there. So again, welcome back. Welcome back to the 6th live session. Like these are the scheduled lives that I do every week on Mondays between 7 and 8 p.m. We are late today, very late, because my internet decided, nope, we're not gonna work today, but here we are. But I'll try and make it as short as possible today because I have other things to do after this, because I wasn't expecting all these technical difficulties, but here we are. Today's topic is how to access events as a photographer, and I'll do a little introduction about myself in case you're new here and you don't know who I am, and if you're returning, welcome back. Hi everyone, my name is Elsie. I am a photographer and I'm based in London in the UK, and I photograph sports, portraiture, events and documentary. And yeah, I just decided to do these live sessions as little experiment for the rest of 2025. So they'll be weekly if I can. If not, they'll be weekly every Monday 7 to 8. If I can't, they'll be either early or later during the day. But I'll always put an announcement on my social media. You can always follow me at EK13 Photos. On Instagram is EK13 Photos, EK13_photos, and on LinkedIn it's EK13 Photos. So if you search for me or even my name, you will find me on these platforms. That's where I put most of my updates. And and if you find these live streams like very valuable to you, please, I would appreciate it if you'd like the live stream, subscribe and share them. And also, if you're here live, there's a chat box which I'm looking at right now. Leave your comments and any suggestions for future lives that you'd like to see me discuss here. And also, if you're watching this after the live session, you can always leave your comments in the comment section below the video, and I'll be looking at that and engaging with it. And I'll really appreciate it. Earlier on, I'd really spoken about accessing events as a photographer. So I'm gonna have to repeat all of that if I remember what I talked about. But because the internet decided, nah, it's not gonna work, but here we are. So a little bit of this is more for beginner photographers, or even people who are coming back into photography after taking a long break, or they're transitioning from one genre into another. And I would really like to know, especially if you're joining this and you're watching this, why are you interested, or what kind of photography do you do? That's actually what I wanted to ask. So accessing events as a photographer. Do you need a pass or do you not need a pass? And in some instances, you do not need a pass to access certain events, and with others, yes, you do need a pass. You need credentials or accreditation. And there's three major types of different events. Not major, that just different event types out there, and they can be public, semi-public, or events that need credentials. Public events can be things like, let's say, if you're into sports, like the London Marathon. If you're not into sports, it could be like protests in the streets. If you see something happening in the streets, you just photograph them, like being a street photographer and you're seeing events happening, like probably buskers, or what else? Oh, like carnival, like the Notting Hill Carnival, things like that. Those are public events where you don't necessarily need credentials to go and photograph that, but you also have to be aware of your surroundings and what's happening in these events so as to know what you can and can't photograph in these events. Because it's public doesn't necessarily mean you can go around just photographing anything and everything. in this instance, you can't, if people are not comfortable you photographing them, especially when you don't have credentials, you just talk to them or explain to them, and if they say no, you can't photograph them, you just have to walk away and leave the situation and move on to the next, because it certainly happened to me enough times to know this. And yeah, that's when it comes to public events where you don't need credentials at all, but having credentials in some way helps you navigate the spaces better. So no, you don't need a pass, but having a pass helps when it comes to public. With semi-public events, things that I can think of top of my head are like movie premieres that happen, let's say, like in Leicester Square and stuff like that. They're semi-public in the sense that you will get to see some of the stars, sometimes, not all the time, leading up to where they enter and be photographed by press, because the place will be cordoned off. Like you will not, there will be barriers not permitting you to go past that. Sometimes they can be fairly open, sometimes not. So that's one instance where I can think it's semi-public, because it happens like in an open area in the streets. The other one is like Fashion Week, or yeah, fashion events like London Fashion Week and stuff like that, where you find the models or stars or people who've been invited to come to these events. They will, oh, the sun, let me just switch that camera around because I'm recording. The stars will come to these events, and they will be walking in the streets to enter the buildings. So when they're on the streets, you can stop some of the models or some of the people wearing these nice clothes. You can stop them and photograph them. So you don't need credentials. So that's kind of semi-public, because once they enter the building, you will not be allowed into the building. Past that, you will need credentials. You'll need permission to be in the building. So without a pass, you won't be able to go past where they're going, or into the area where the fashion show is happening. That's another one of, I can think of, that semi-public in that instance. And then you'll have now the events where you need credentials, and in these events it's mostly probably sporting events, corporate events, award ceremonies and stuff like that, where, like I said, with premieres, beyond those barriers, that is more an event where you need accreditation, or credentials to enter those spaces. And yeah, so like I said, those are the three that I can think of. And with having credentials, whether it's public, semi-public, or an event, a kind of private event, or an event where you need credentials, it's not necessarily private, like let's say photographing sports where you need to be on the pitch. It is important to have access, because you will get to photograph things you will not necessarily get without credentials, like close-up shots, behind the scenes, things happening behind the scenes, or exclusive stuff. And without having a pass, you might not necessarily get some of those photographs, right? So that is one thing. I'm sorry, this glare of the sun is literally on the lens, and I don't know how to block it. I'm sorry about that, guys. When the sun sets, it will disappear. So for now, we will have to deal, unless I stand up and close the blind. Let's do that. Oof. The room will be a bit dark. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. That's the first time doing that. But yeah, at least there's still light in the room. Okay, yeah. Like I was saying, it is really important to have access to get credentials or accreditation to have access to these events. But obviously, you will encounter some barriers to access, because when you are asking or requesting for a pass, some places would like to see what work you have done beforehand before giving you a pass. So needing to show your portfolio of previous work that you've done, that will be one of the barriers that you will encounter. It has happened to me, where they needed to see my portfolio. In some instances, they needed to see that my pictures have been published in order for them to give me accreditation. I have to know an editor who can vouch for me to get accreditation. That has happened to me before. In some instances, they would have loved to give me the accreditation, but unfortunately they didn't have enough space, so I didn't get like accreditation. That has happened as well. Those could be some of the barriers that will not allow you to be given access to events. But by no means does this mean you do not keep trying. Keep trying. You will eventually get access. You'll eventually get that accreditation. It might take time, but once you get it, sometimes you don't even know what to do, because it can come as a surprise, and you'll be like feel sort of unprepared. And it has happened to me. But the more you keep doing it, the more you gain the confidence to keep trying and be prepared for whatever event that you get to. I was trying to look at some of like my email history, to be honest, like, because most of my accreditation access, I tend to ask for them via email. So at least I can have that paper trail. As you can see, I was like looking to see, hey, where can I get like, what is this called? Like evidence of my first ever pass. Like, what event was it? Was I prepared? Do I even remember? Because it was so long ago. As in, what my pitch was, how was I noticed, my challenges, and what photos did I take from that event. And looking back at my email history, it was so long ago. It was like, I think my earliest was 2008, 2009. It was some award ceremony. I can't remember even the name of the event, to be fair. And I didn't necessarily get a pass. I just got access to the event for some reason. And I didn't need to show my pictures. People just, I think it was because it was through a friend. And they didn't necessarily need to see my pictures because they already knew I was a photographer. I think my first one was pure luck. Knowing someone, being in the right place at the right time, and having my camera with me. And I got access to an event, and it was just like a launch event, like an after party event. And was I prepared? Not necessarily. I just had my camera, and I was just like taking pictures the way I would take pictures when I had my camera with my friends, like at a party. And that's how I did it. To be fair, if I remember, that's how I did it. And and I shared my pictures, because I shared my pictures on Flickr at the time. And it was shared. The host, the person who invited me, I shared my pictures on Flickr, and people saw the pictures. I don't think they ended up using some of them on their website. The website has since gone down. But that was certainly like interesting. But I knew I wanted to do more of it because it was fun. For me, that event was so much fun. I was having a lot of fun with my friends, and I was also meeting new people, and I was also networking as well. At the time, I didn't looking back and remembering, it didn't look like I was doing all of those things, but that's essentially what I was doing. And I think unconsciously, those are the lessons that I've taken from that event and use them all over whatever event that I go to, and apply them there. Certainly with more experience, I've tweaked some of those lessons. But one of the challenges that I experienced there was lack of communication or transparency or direction especially from the host at the time, because I was all over the place. They kept calling me all over, saying, "Elsie, come here, take this picture. Elsie, come here, take this picture. Elsie, da da da." And at the same time, even in my head, I'm like, "This is a party. I should be enjoying myself." But I'm forgetting, like, no, you were asked to come and take pictures. You were not asked to come and party or whatever. And I always have to remind myself, yes, you can enjoy yourself when you're at the event, but also remember that you are there to also do a job. That is something certainly I didn't learn from that one from the beginning, but it's lessons that I've taken from that moving forward. And whatever challenges, the challenges was like lack of communication, but I've learned since then to know what is needed of me when I enter events. And yeah, I guess that's how I got my first pass, like, to an event, like just knowing someone and being lucky and being at the right place in the right time. But moving forward, I used to ask people if I saw an event that I wanted to photograph and I knew people in the space. I used to ask them, hey, I used to either email them or call them, and I asked them, hey, who do I need to contact to get into this event? What do I need to do to get into this event? And people have been really, really helpful, especially the early days where I was engaging with a lot of photographers who were there before me, and I was asking them these questions. They would always email me back and say, this is what you need to do, contact this person, write to them, and they would give me like an email template and share and just tell me, use these wordings but tweak them to your needs and what you need to get access to. And that is how I kind of started, because I reached out to people and I asked them, what do I need to do? And people reach out to me now for the same way I used to reach out to people, and they ask me these questions. I don't know, always help out whenever I can. But I have to also remind everyone that sometimes I'm not at a capacity to give you all the information, because in some areas the details are not necessarily free for all, if you know what I mean. But I will certainly guide you. I will certainly guide you on how to go about it, if you know what I mean, and who to reach out to. Yeah. So that's one way to go about it. But with regards to accessing events, some can be easy, some cannot. But it's up to you to decide whether you want to go ahead and figure out the intricacies of applying for certain accreditation or media passes. And as I've mentioned earlier, you don't necessarily need a pass, especially when you want to build a portfolio in order to show people that you can do this job. So as to, when you're applying for the pass, you can put together a small PDF or have your website, if you've published them on a website, have them on there so you can showcase. You can send a link to these people and say, hey, this is my work, this is what I've done, I've been published here, blah blah blah, can I be given accreditation? And I've spoken about this in, I think, 1 or 2 previous lives with regards to that. Yeah. When you're working without a pass, you can work without a pass. It has happened to me where in instances where I've applied for a pass and I didn't get it, but I knew I wanted like photographs from that event. A good example was I applied for, I think it was Six Nations, but the men's game, and I didn't get a pass. I also applied for the men's rugby World Cup, and I didn't get accreditation. But I looked for a workaround. So for the Six Nations, what I did, because I knew it was a big game and it was like a huge rivalry between England and Ireland, I went to the stadium and I photographed the fans before they went into the game. And that's what I did, and I got photographs for that. That was my workaround. So it was figuring what time is kickoff. If kickoff is, let's say, 3 o'clock, I needed to be there at least 2 hours before kickoff. So at least I can get enough photographs of fans walking from Twickenham Station to Twickenham Stadium, and all the activities that happen along that route. Because you'll find vendors selling their wares, their flags, hats, scarves, and all of that. Vendors selling food. You'll find people doing face painting and all of that. You'll also find people handing out radios. I photographed a few people handing out radios so fans can listen to the match in their ear, or selling them. People selling programs, match programs. So you see, you can build your portfolio and photograph things happening that are connected to the game. You don't necessarily need to go to the game to photograph the game. You can always photograph everything else that happens around that event. And this is not just necessarily only for sports, but sports is more or less an easier way to get around photographing that. But you can always figure out whatever genre of photography you get into, you'll always have to look for a workaround, especially when you need access to the event itself and you don't get it. So you can photograph from public spaces like outside the stadium where there's general access with fans walking around. And in this instance, you need to keep your gear very light because you'll be walking a lot. You don't want to be lugging around a lot of gear. So you need to figure out what camera you're not going to carry, what lens you need. You almost have to think like a street photographer in this instance. And again, you also need to figure out, read up or be wary of the legal and ethical considerations when it comes to photographing this. Like I've mentioned earlier, especially when you're on the street, and especially when parents and kids are outside, you need to make sure you speak to the parents. You can always ask. There's no harm in asking, hey, is it okay? Can I photograph you and your children? You're going to the game. Is that okay? When they ask you, you're going to, who is it for? Just be transparent and let them know, oh, I'm just building a photography portfolio of sports fans. It will be published on my website. You can share your website with them so they can see the picture. If they say it's okay, go ahead and take it. Just don't take the picture without asking for permission, especially when children are involved. And also, like, when you're out in the street, making sure like the people around you are comfortable being photographed. Like in the streets, let's say in London, if you see homeless people, just don't photograph them, like for ethical reasons as well. Because when you publish those pictures online, you never know who is going to see those pictures and how they're going to be used. But other people might not, because yeah, just be wary of when you're working, especially when you're working without a credentials or without a pass. Be wary of the legal and ethical considerations when it comes to taking pictures of people. And like I said, figure out the times when you're photographing, the gear you're gonna carry, the legal and ethical considerations when it comes to all of that. And I mean, you are not restricted, right? Because without a pass, you're not restricted in the sense that you can get so much from being outside of the gates or the confines of having a press pass, right? Because even when you have a press pass, it does come with its own terms and conditions. It's not necessarily just free for all, you can do what you want. So yeah, so there is a plus side of not having a pass. So also those are things worth considering. So yeah, I'm going to look at the chat. I mean, like, as mentioned earlier, having a accreditation like a media pass and everything, it's all well and good. It gives you access to spaces you will not necessarily think of. Like, I've been to amazing spaces. I wouldn't even in my life think of being in there, because the media pass has given me that kind of access, and I have to be really grateful for that. But the question I'll pose to you as you're watching this, like, what has been your experience when you've had an event access? Like, has your experience been positive? If so, how? Would you like to share with the viewers? And if has your event, by having credentials, been a negative one, how was it negative? And what have you done since to remedy that? I'd really like to know that. So you can leave a comment in the comment section. And I would also like to know if you've photographed an event without a pass. How was your experience with that? Like, do you think it's something that you can continue doing, or do you think like having a pass would have been beneficial for you to get more photography out of that event? And yeah, so I think I'll keep this one short and sweet, because I don't think I need to discuss any more on that. As I said earlier, my internet decided to go haywire, and it's really thrown a curveball on this live today. But I'm glad that I was able to discuss this with you, and I'm hoping that whatever I've shared here will help somebody out there. And oh, if there's one thing I'm gonna say with regards to having access to events, emails are your best friend. Like, if you want to photograph an event and you don't know how to go about it, check if the event has a website, or if the person, if you know more details of the event and you know who you need to contact. Most events will have a general email. You can always, and I think I mentioned this in a previous live, most events will have a general email. Use that general email to email them and say, hey, my name is, introduce yourself, my name is so and so, blah blah blah, you're having this event on this date at this time, blah. Can I have who would be the right person to contact in order for me to photograph the event? If you have a portfolio, put a portfolio together or a link to your website and add it on there with work related to the event, and then send it to them. And in most cases, people will always come back to you and say, hey, thank you for reaching out. Yes, we have access. These, you might need credentials. Here's your credentials. Yeah, we'll add you to the list. Sometimes they add people to lists, and your name will be on the list. And then when you arrive at the event, they will be given your pass. Or they will let you know, yes, you have accreditation, and then you can go and collect your pass in the media center, things like that. But in some cases, you might get a no, because, as I said earlier, your portfolio might not be enough, or they might not have enough spaces to grant you access to that event. But by no means necessarily, again, that does this mean you stop asking. Always check, especially if the event keeps repeating either weekly, monthly, or annually. Keep trying, because one day somebody in that organization will see your work. Keep trying and keep working on your photography. Will see your work and they say, okay, this person has been asking enough times, let's see what they've got. Yeah, let's give them the access, and they'll say yes, and they'll give you access to the event. So That's all it needs. It just needs one person to come around and say, yes, we've given you accreditation. And yeah, so I think I will leave it at that. I hope this has been very beneficial to you who's watching. Again, please share your experiences when you have event access. I would like to know how that went for you. And as usual, like I said earlier at the beginning of this, I always do this every Monday at 7, between 7 and 8 p.m. Today we were a bit late and hence the live being shorter than it is, but it's fine. So yeah, I'll be back next week on Monday, again between 7 and 8 p.m. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe this live. And I will catch you guys next week. So enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the rest of your week, and see you next Monday. Bye. Bye.